Hi folks, Nathaniel here at Chicago Music Exchange. Now, as you may remember, a few months back, CME teamed up with Richard Fortus to sell some gear from his incredible collection. And when they were loading in everything, I couldn't believe how many amps that he had. It was incredible. And it got me thinking, how many amps does one guy need? And how did he get into, collecting so many different types of amps? Do I need more amps? So I had the pleasure of sitting down with Richard and asking some of those questions. Surrounded by amps here, which begs the question from me, why so many?
So many?
Yes.
Well, you think this is a lot?
Oh, you've probably got 10 times this, right? This is a lot to me. I have two. He's laughing at me.
Yeah, but you play so well that you don't only need to. I, on the other hand, need a plethora.
Yes. Yes, you do. I think you've got that. I think you've achieved that.
I like to paint with a broad palette.
I suppose it begs the question, how did this obsession with getting all these amps begin? How did it start?
My first band, when I started playing out in clubs, I was using a little crate amp.
Right.
Solid state, yeah. And then my friend turned me on to a Marshall 50, and he said, oh, you've got to get one of these. So I started playing through a 50-watt Marshall, and then I added an AC30. And I used that combination, and this magic thing happens because the Marshall had a lot of low end and top end, and the Vox in the middle really filled everything out. And I was using a Junior, and I realized that for my clean sound, I'd turn my volume down, and the Vox would go away. And then you just hear the Marshall, the cleaner Marshall sound. You bring it back up, the volume back up, and the Vox comes roaring back through. And I thought, man, this is okay. And then I started playing around with different combinations. And then I started collecting smaller amps. And when I started messing around more in the studio and experimenting, realizing that combining different sounds or even small amps sometimes sound huge when you're recording them. Like I said, I love a broad palette. I like painting with a lot of different colors. And I think that when I moved to New York and I started working as a session player, I think that's why I worked as much as I did, was because I had an understanding of how to get certain tones that an artist or a producer was looking for. Yeah. So when, if they'd throw out a reference, I knew
how to get
that sound.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's a skill in itself, though.
It is, and I think that was a huge asset for me.
I'm trying to think now of kind of certain sounds that I heard when I was kind of learning to play the guitar. Iconic sounds that made me think, right, I need to sound like that. How am I going to get there? Are you still kind of chasing that kind of sound?
Of course, I think so. It's funny because I guess like 10 years ago, I joined Thin Lizzy, who was a huge influence on me. And I didn't really realize until I'm going back and learning the songs and really thinking about the tone. And I realized like Live and Dangerous to me was sort of the benchmark for the perfect idyllic rock guitar tone. And I remember, it's funny because I said this to Scott Gorham when I joined the band. I was like, man, I told him that exact same thing. And he said, oh man, I hate to burst your bubble, kid, but that's all we could afford. We couldn't afford the new Marshall, so we were using a few years old, amps that were a few years old, and we could only afford one pedal each. And so I mean, I think that you're formed by when you're a kid listening and really when that magic happens, you know?
some that stand out in my mind, that the sounds that I thought, God, that sounds amazing. I would love to have that. There's that bit in ZZ Top, Give Me All Your Lovin'. The break.
You're serious with this?
I'm not joking.
Okay.
I love that.
That's absolutely insane to me, because you're talking about a guy that wrote the book on great guitar tone. I mean, he's like one of the pinnacle of what could be in guitar tone. You know, I mean, but De Guelo, you know, Tres Hombres, like that stuff. Yeah. Oh God, man, his tone was just impeccable.
I know, people are probably going to be laughing at me, get angry at me. You're shocked.
And then you go to that period.
Hey, I like the tone that he had in that.
I don't hate it. You know, it's
you don't love it though, do you?
Well, I mean, compared to some other tones.
Yeah. Now, there's some brands here I'm not ashamed to say that I'd never heard of.
You said that, and that amazes me. How could you grow up in England and not know Selmers? How could you not know Carlsbro?
Selmer, legitimately. I'm not ashamed to say I had never heard of Selmer. I mean, what can you tell me about these Selmers?
Beatles use Selmers, the Animals use Selmers. You know, like it was part of that. And I think that at that point in the 60s, they were using what was available to them.
Right.
And Selmer had a music shop and they're like, we're gonna make amps. And, But they happened on to some really cool schematics, you know, and made some really special things. But they have a very unique sound, you know? And that's why they're so popular right now. I mean, people love those.
Now, obviously, I know Magnus phone amps, but I'd never seen this, the M120.
Well, that's you're not special. Right. Very few people have seen that.
So this is rare then, right?
That's a really rare one.
Right.
The M20 was, I mean, I think it retailed for like $1,300 in 66, 65, which was, I mean, that's you know, over 10 grand now.
Jesus.
So that's like, no, you don't see many because they make many. Not many people could afford.
Well, I was going to say, surely not many people could afford them. Hence, why I guess they didn't sell many or make many.
Right. But they're insanely cool.
Yeah.
They're insanely cool. They're just so. It's a really special amp.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does something that nothing else does, and that's why. I have a lot of amps.
Yeah.
There's some pieces here that I'm looking around going, oh man, I don't know, do I really want to get rid of that?
I'm trying not to, make you do a U-turn.
Yeah, I've got my ones that I fall back on, but honestly, being home this last year and being in the studio every day and working in the studio every day, I really have been able to dig into a lot of my collection that I hadn't spent that much time with before, that I've been accumulating over the last 20 years of being on the road. And really appreciating some other pieces that, Plus, guitars and amps, I think that they inspire songs or they inspire certain things. And then I like having new stuff that inspires new stuff, you know?
Right.
If that makes sense.
I've got an idea what you mean by it, yeah. I mean...
And that's sort of where I'm at right now.
Is there any amps that you've always wanted, like you've kept keeping an eye out for, but maybe you haven't come across?
Yeah. A Joker, a Watkins Joker, I've always wanted.
Yeah. Anyone listening, send it in. He wants one.
JTM 45, 100.
Right.
I've always wanted. A Blues Breaker. I've never owned a Blues Breaker.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I love that tone. I'd love to get one of those.
Yeah. I'll see what I can do.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
I'll find out for you. So first things first, I want to thank Richard for chatting with me. It was a huge honor and it was also a lot of fun. Now, most of his collection sold out pretty quickly, as you can imagine, but there are still a few amps, still a few guitars as well. So make sure you come and check them out here in the shop and also on the website. And of course, thanks for watching.